Hey Stampers, this is Kim from stampingimperfection.com. Welcome to my craft room. I wanted to do a very quick video on heat embossing for beginner stampers or for people who've never actually heat embossed before. And I'm going to use a piece of summer starfruit. I'm going to use my Swallowtail butterfly, and then you need a couple of other things. You need your Versamark ink pad, which is a watermark stamp pad. It's non-toxic and acid-free, and you can re-ink it. And when you're using it, you do want it to be really goopy, so if you've been using it a lot or you haven't used it a while, you might want to just re-ink it because you do want it to be really goopy. The thing about this is that once you stamp with it, the ink on the paper stays wet for a really long time. It can be used as a watermark on a paper, so if you just want a really light background, I'll show you after I stamp, you can actually get a really nice background using that also. I'm also going to use some embossing powder. I'm going to use Pool Party because in the Spring Mini they showed the Swallowtail embossed in this Pool Party ink, and I wanted to see what that looked like, and they used it on the Summer Starfruit. I thought the card in the catalog was so beautiful. You also need a heat gun. I have a super old heat gun. I hope to order my Stampin' Up! Heat gun in my next order. The thing with the Stampin' Up!, this one's really old. It has only one setting. I've had it for as long as I've been stamping, which is like 20 years. And the new Stampin' Up! One has actually got 2 heat settings, so you can use the low heat setting to actually just, because sometimes I use this to dry ink. So I often use this to dry like my stays on ink if I'm doing like a tile project and I want it to dry faster because I'm impatient. It would be better if I could use a low heat setting for that. The high heat setting would be for doing a project like embossing. So and this is called heat embossing. So I highly recommend, and I'm going to personally be getting one also. Okay, so I'm going to start with my stamp and my Versamark, and I'm going to just ink this up with the Versamark really well. And since this is actually a new Versamark pad, it's really nice and goopy, so it's kind of perfect. Then I'm going to just stamp the image on my card. I never put this on the card straight. I don't know why. I feel like if I tip it sideways, it'll look like it's flying away. I kind of like that look. So when I take it off, I'll hold it up. You could let this dry and leave it just like that, and that makes a super pretty background for a stamped image. So that is another thing that you can do. Like, you can let this dry without embossing it at all, and it makes a really, really pretty background. Okay, I'm not going to do that. This stays wet for a long time, so I'm actually able to tell you about it. I'm just going to sprinkle the embossing powder, and this Pool Party is really pretty. I've actually used it a couple of times. And I do it in a tray or on a piece of paper. Again, I've had this tray forever, so it's got a hole in the bottom so I can just put the ink back in. And notice I also have a piece of paper underneath, so I like to catch the powder. I can put the powder back in the container pretty easily. I also have a piece of paper underneath. You don't need the tray. You can use a piece of paper and put it back. And another thing that you can do, and I always forget to do this, and after I put the powder on, I always regret it. There's something called an Embossing Buddy. It comes in a package like this, and what you should do, because you want to avoid getting stray ink, or stray, not ink, but you want to avoid getting stray embossing powder on different parts of your card, because sometimes the embossing powder will stick, and once you heat it, that's on there permanently. I keep a little paintbrush on my desk, and then I can just, if I have stray ink that I don't, stray, not ink, I mean powder. If I have stray powder, I can just brush it off. But what you can do, and I always forget to do this, and I emboss all the time, so you can take your Embossing Buddy and just wipe it on the card that you're going to emboss with, and that removes the static cling so that the powder only sticks to the part that you want to emboss, which would be a beautiful thing. Okay, the next step is really noisy, so I'm not going to try to talk while I'm doing it, but I'm going to heat it up with a heat gun. And what I'd like you to notice, and you want to keep your fingers away from the heat gun because it does get very hot. So you're going to notice that this image is going to start to change from this powdery look to a really shiny look. And you don't ever want to hold your heat gun over one spot for too long. As soon as you start noticing that powdery look, that section is done, move on to the next section. And I do heat this in sections, so you can see. Wow. Now you can see it starting to change like magic. Doesn't take very long. And once it's done, you don't want to hold it over because you kind of actually overheat it. I have to turn this because it's getting hot. Sometimes I hold it with a pair of tweezers, or I put it in a pan with aluminum foil and sit it on the table, so I don't have to hold it hard because my thumb is getting really hot. It's such a pretty technique. Okay, it is very obnoxiously noisy, but the point of this video is to show you how to do it. And if you just, it's a little warm, but you can brush along the top to make sure you have all the powder heat embossed, and that's it. That's all you have to do. And now you're ready to adhere it to your card or try one of the emboss resist techniques or the shimmer technique, which I'm going to try in my next video. So stampingimperfection.com. Thanks for watching.